We're coming to you live from our Emergency Operations Center here, and we want to have a discussion today about assistance that's available to small businesses that have been negatively impacted by the COVID crisis. Thank you for our distinguished panel for being here today. We're looking forward to a really good discussion, and we really want to help out the public today. Let's start off with the introduction. I have Robin King here. She is the president and CEO of CareerSource Flagler Volusia. Nancy Kiefer, who is the president and CEO of Daytona Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce. Helga Van Eckert, new with our team here in Volusia County. She's the director of Volusia County Economic Development. And Tom Daly, director of Small Business Development, the center here at Daytona State College. Again, thank you everybody for being here. These are really tough economic times. In addition to we've got the health impacts to deal with. We have the economy. We can't let that get too far out of whack. Financial impacts to individuals. So we wanted to have this discussion today. There's a lot of information out there, and we wanted to try and help those people sort through that and get the answers that they need. So I'm going to start off with just doing a few questions here. I'll start with Tom Daly here. Historically, the Small Business Development Center at Daytona Beach College has been all about helping small businesses succeed and grow. But with this COVID pandemic, your mission's changed. For now, it's not really about a path to growth. It's more about survival. So, Tom, what kind of guidance and assistance are you able to provide to our current businesses to help them survive during this crisis?
Sure, thank you. And in fact, I might actually add that survival is really about growth. We're going to have to get the machine restarted again, and that means kind of changing how we're going to think. We are a community and a vital business community here in Volusia. Things were going very well prior to the crisis, and I'm excited about watching that happen again. So it's really going to be about creativity and making new ideas, new approaches. We have a very vital business community here, so we're going to really have to put our thinking caps on together and really come up with new ways to deliver new products, new services, new ways to maybe work on our finances a little bit. That's where we come in. How can we maybe share the burden of some costs? How can we maybe do away with some unprofitable services and products? Really kind of a think tank collectively to make all of that happen. So I would say growth is actually really important in how we're going to help. In the short term, but prior to starting this, we talked about just being available, having resources, having people be able to reach out and talk to someone physically instead of just going to a website. That's where we come in, and we're excited and bullish on the future. It's just going to be changing our thinking a little bit, and we have a lot of smart people in this area, and that's how we're going to help. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nancy, a lot of programs out there right now for COVID-19 assistance, employee retention credits, deferred payroll taxes, loans, but that can be a little overwhelming, the amount of information that's out there. Can you give me a brief overview of some of these programs and which ones seem to be the most viable from the chamber perspective?
Yeah, let's start with the bad news first, because I always like to end on a positive note. The loans that you're hearing about, the Paycheck Protection Plan and the EIDL loans, is no secret. There's no money left in those accounts. We are continuing to lobby each and every day for more funding. As a matter of fact, yesterday we were on the call with Congressman Waltz. Today we're on the call with Senator Scott. And this morning we signed on with the U.S. Chamber across the United States to lobby, or to advocate, I should say, for more dollars to go into those particular programs. The people that have applications in are probably in queue. You may have heard that you've been accepted. If so, that's good. But right now, those two programs aren't accepting any other applications right now. This could change as soon as the funding becomes available. Our recommendations at this point is, work with the professionals that you have as part of your team. And when I say that, I mean be in contact with your accountants and your CPAs and your bankers. They are living this day and night. They know all of the details. And while some of the loan programs may be drying up at this particular point, you should be starting to think about things like tax credits, loan forgiveness, debt, getting that taken care of as we move out, payments that can be maybe sent down the road for those. But those are what your professionals are for. Certainly at the Chamber of Commerce, we'll talk anybody through it. We have a ton of information and links to get you to the appropriate places you need to go, but it is overwhelming because there's so much out there. So I did promise I'd end on a positive note, though, because there is a new program that is opening up on Monday, and it's a program through the U.S. Chamber and Vistaprint, and it is intended for small businesses, those with 3 to 20 employees, and it is a grant. It's a $5,000 grant, and it's a very simple application process. It's about 10 minutes, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips right now. Go on to the savesmallbusiness.com and put your email in there as a reminder to go and fill out the application on Monday when it opens up. Now, I will caution you, it's a nationwide program, so it's going to be very popular, but there's very few stipulations other than you need to be in a distressed area, and we researched all of the zip codes for Volusia County, and they all fall into that. So it is eligible. There's something out there, but reach out to us, and we can help walk you through what may be best depending on your business.
That's great. That's really good ending information on that Save Small Business and how important that really is. Turning here to Helga. Welcome aboard, Helga. She's been here just a few weeks and right in the middle of this disaster, a little baptism by fire. Helga, why don't you explain the county's role in all this? While we don't really have any direct financial assistance, I know we're a big resource that people can reach out to. So when a business does contact you, what are the things that we can provide for them?
Right. So some of the things that we've been looking at are assisting the businesses in being creative. Okay, mental agility really, as Tom was saying, is going to be paramount in moving businesses forward over the next 6, 12, 18 months, getting them back on track. So what we've been focusing on in our department is really getting close to the economic developers, the practitioners that are in each individual city. They're the ground, the feet on the ground in those communities. They know the businesses. They know what the needs are. And we've been meeting with them on a weekly basis to understand what issues each of them are dealing with and help them to talk through how they can help their businesses. And, for example, roadside pickup. A lot of the ordinances that are in place don't allow for roadside pickup at a restaurant. Those things got to be relaxed. Signage issues were being relaxed. Helping businesses or the municipalities to help the businesses with those kinds of issues have been a big deal for us. We wanted to respond to that very quickly. Our cities are also doing some very creative things. They're having business meetings through Zoom or GoToMeetings and letting their community know what they're doing specific to them. And one of the things that we learned when we were in our conference calls was that there's information coming from every single direction, and we've been trying to help set people in the right path in finding that, what they actually need. So it's a lot.
There is a lot of information out there. So Robin, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about short-term compensation and what is it and who's eligible for it? Is there any money left in it?
Well, the short-time compensation program is a program that the state of Florida has year-round. This is not a crisis program. It's just a program that, especially now that the PPP and the other loans have run out. So a business can submit a plan on reducing the hours of some of their employees by at least 10%, no more than 40%. And so those individuals then would get prorated unemployment assistance. Mm-hmm. And that way the business gets to retain their talent. All businesses really want to keep their employees. And this is a program that helps them keep keep those who already have that skill set that they will need when they recover. So it kind of goes back to that, how do they recover? If you have to just hire new people, that's then even compounds the issue, right? So this is a program that must be approved prior to actually reducing the hours. And it can be done as a hybrid if a company is faced with doing some layoffs, but then wants to retain some employees. So it's very prescriptive based on what that business is facing. The thing that we've also read is those individuals who are going to get that prorated reemployment assistance, which is what it's called in Florida, would be eligible for the CARES Act dollars. So right now, someone who's receiving unemployment assistance gets that extra $600 from the CARES Act.
Right.
So if someone is going through this program, that would also help those employees. They would get that piece as well. So it's a way that a business can take care of themselves by retaining their talent, but also taking care of their employees.
And it's so important right now. So many people need that help, and I think companies that are doing that type of thing, building a lot of loyalty and retaining that talent.
Yes.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, one of the things that are so important as we try to assist the businesses going forward is that we don't hurt by moving employees from one job to a different location, we don't want to hurt the businesses when they're ready to come back so they can't find their employees again. And this program is really fantastic in helping to avoid that. I mean, when we try to help, sometimes, you don't realize there's a ripple effect that you cause that could hurt somebody else. And it's a real balance that you have to work through.
And many, in a crisis like this, you see how many the connections within our business community and that ripple effect. And on the government side, every action we do, of course, tremendous ripple through the community. Tom, this one here, what do you see really as our local business's greatest need right now?
Well, it's kind of threefold, but the first part is obviously liquidity. They're going to need access to finances to go on, and with some of the programs, as we've said, a little bit hard to get a hold of. It's going to take some of that creativity where we really kind of manage our costs. How do we do that? How do we partner with other businesses? Is there some cost sharing we can do? There are some ways. We've also become all too familiar with the digital world and communication like we're doing here today. So how do I make my products and my services best in class? How do I do my outreach to my current customers and future customers? I need to become lean and mean, which is probably a colloquial expression, but it's true. I'm going to have to become better than I ever have before, and that's probably through an intellectual process, not just kind of working harder, but really working smarter. And to kind of to what Robin's talking about too is, how am I investing in my current employees? I probably just saw them do some cool things recently, right? To really learn how to survive and become better. What are their ideas? How do I really kind of mold that sort of all that intellectual stuff that I've got going there and really make my business better? So in the short term, it is really about liquidity. How do I do it? And by the way, there are some ways to go to your bankers, to your lenders now, and say, how can I get some forgiveness? If you have an SBA loan, you can defer those right now for 6 months. So, think about all the things that are there. It's easy to panic, but it's best not to, right?
Right.
Think about those ways that I can get my liquidity in order so I've got some assets to work on so I can really kind of just get positive about my business going forward. So.
If I can, just even some of the things that, as businesses, because we're all businesses to some extent, right?
Right.
If you had told me 2 months ago, I would have 72 people working remotely, right? And we won't stop doing that. Not necessarily that they would continue to work out of their homes, but we can still serve individuals now through these online platforms and the things that we've learned how to be better. And so there are some really strong lessons being learned across the board for all the businesses that are still out there that are being innovative. If they're thinking that they can just do it the way they've always done it, then they're going to get stuck. But if they're open to a different mindset and moving forward, they'll be better with it.
That's a great point, too. And we've encouraged everybody that a lot of times businesses are like, the whole social media thing, I should get to that one day. This is the time.
Get there now.
Get there now. Reach out to people, become best in class, be the thought leader in your industry.
Yeah.
Use those tools, dress up your website, use that time right now to really be a resource, be the content expert to your clients, current and future. It's a big deal, and it's going to help you going forward.
Well, and I think your point when it comes to being able to respond to your client is really a key issue here, because you do something 3 times and, okay, it's a habit or something, right? But you live like with internet and ordering your groceries online and having stuff delivered. You do that for 3 weeks, 3 months. It's a way of life. So the businesses have to be able to respond to that, and they can make it a positive thing for them from that perspective, because there's economies of scale there. They're going to have savings in the long run if they can just restructure how they operate.
Very good.
Yeah.
Nancy, a similar question, what are you seeing as the biggest needs from the chamber perspective that are out there?
Yeah, I think the panelists just touched on this ability to adapt to what it may be the new norm coming, and it is going to be different. And I see some businesses being incredibly innovative and doing things that they've never been comfortable doing. And as we talk about the importance now to shore up your online presence, whether it be your websites, portals for doing business online, understanding social media and all of these platforms, when we think about it, entrepreneurs are known for being very creative and having a mind that thinks beyond what the norm is. And I think that every business now needs to open up their entrepreneurial mind. So, thinking about things like that, I think it's Friday, we actually have a conference on opening your entrepreneurial mind and finding out how it is that you can change and pivot in your business. I think, the businesses they're resilient, they're great people. I see some things being done now that are probably going to be part of their business plan moving forward. But as everybody's talked about, it's time to practice and become experts in those areas as best you can, whether it's the social media platforms or the Zoom conferencing and all of that. It is important. At some point in time, we're going to come back together, and that's really important. That's something that can never be replaced with technology as we move forward, but you have to manage it now, and you have to learn it now. So the businesses we're finding, again, they're willing to be creative. They're a little afraid of it. They don't know how that looks for their plan, but I think it was Tom that mentioned, right now is the time to reach out and partner. Look at who's doing things in this community and pick their brains and say, how did you move to that kind of a platform, or why are you doing business that way, and how is it impacting you? Our community is an incredible giving community, and they want everybody to be successful. So I think those partnering opportunities are very, very important as we move forward.
If I could touch on one thing too, you hit a point there. They don't have to be perfect at this. I mean, right now we're allowed to make some mistakes. Companies can have a technical error in how they put something out, and it's not going to be viewed as a negative. And I think the fear in the past has always been, I don't want to get involved in the electronic side or the social media side because it's got to be perfect and I don't have enough time to commit, right? Where now, just do it. I mean, sometimes perfection gets in the way of progress. It's really what it comes down to, I think.
And because we are all in this together.
Exactly.
I mean, this is one of the times I think sometimes people are, like you say, shy. They don't want to go forward. They don't want to go talk to their banker. They don't, these are not times that you would have to worry about that.
No judgment, right?
That's right. That's right.
George, I would just touch on that a little bit too, and I think it was said earlier, and I don't think we can say this enough, that while there's so much information out there, and it is complex and it's all digital, you've got great agencies, great organizations in this community, those of us sitting around the table and others that will talk to you. Pick up the phone and reach out. We can't read the minds. We're constantly on the phone with businesses and doing all of this technology. But there is this peace in knowing you're not alone and that you get a voice to talk to.
Exactly. And one size doesn't fit all. We have all these unique businesses, and it's really a tailored approach when they can talk to the professionals here. And we're very lucky to have you. Helga, I know we've got a really exciting new resource that you and our partners have worked extremely hard to get up and running. In fact, I think the new microsite, Volusia Business Resource, just went live. So for our viewers turning in, why don't you give them a little bit about how to get there and what kind of information and assistance will you find on that site?
So like you said, this actually, for me, coming in, new to the community for the 3 weeks that I've been in this position now, it was amazing to see all of our partners come together in this. Like I had said earlier, when we were doing our calls with the city practitioners, it was obvious that the rush of information coming in really was overwhelming, and it was almost like analysis paralysis, where you're just getting so much data thrown at you, you don't know where to go, and then you're panicking about trying to keep your business afloat and get your workers whole, and then your kids are home from school, and there's all these things going on around you to just distract you from what you need to do. So what we decided was that one of the ways that we could help ease that would be to kind of act as a clearinghouse. So we created this microsite with all of our partners, and in it, it has funding mechanisms that come from the federal, the state, the local resources that are available. The chamber, it has links to all of the chambers on it. It has links to CareerSource, SBDC, Team Volusia, CEO Alliance, with everybody just joined in there. So what we're doing is this program that Nancy just brought up, that'll be on that site. As soon as they find out about it, they'll let us know. We'll pop it on the site so that all new information will be there immediately, because, and again, and I'm going to mention something Nancy said, all of these programs that are being put out there, the federal and the state ones, the competition and the importance of immediacy in responding, again, not perfection, but just responding immediately, is really going to make a difference. You've got to be the first one standing in line.
Get yourself in the queue.
Yeah, it's so important. So, have all your information available, like the forms that you filled out, that even if you didn't get the bridge loan application, you've got all that data collected now. Your accountants have put it aside for you. Make sure it's readily available for any other thing that comes out so that you can just plug and chug. And this website will help with those kinds of things. We're also going to be providing links in that site that go to the videos that the chamber's done, that each of the municipalities have done. And I think it's just going to be a great resource.
Helga, I'll just touch on that too. I know from the chamber's perspective, managing just our own site is incredibly difficult to do. I think we've made 175 updates in 2 weeks. That means we're changing out the information constantly. We're adding all of these webinars and Zoom conferences. So the beauty of a one site like what we're talking about with the county is you have to rely on all of us to keep the information up to date. That's not something you have to manage on a day-to-day basis. So that's really important to know, and that all of us need to continually, the rules change by the hour, the data changes by the hour, there's new things coming out. So in regards to like the webinars, we've posted every one. Somebody can watch that at midnight if that's when it's good for them to watch webinars. They can get up in the morning with their cup of coffee. That's the beauty of collaboration. That's the beauty of providing resources to people at a time that's good for them.
Well, and the great thing about this is, okay, so today the website is responding to COVID. Okay? Tomorrow, it's going to respond to everything else. So when COVID is no longer, on every single plate, and we just need resources for businesses, we're still going to keep this going. The administration and the council have agreed to support the effort long term, and I think it'll help our businesses move forward, and it'll ensure that all of the partners continue to collaborate with each other. And I think that's what we all want.
Helga, you and I talked about that we have so many great resources here locally and so many smart people, and we have been, in a way, sometimes siloed. So people are like, oh, who's this? Did you go there? And I think with what you're trying to do with this initiative makes all the sense in the world. So we can collectively just say, here it is. Go shopping. It's the mall of all of the resources we have here, so go for it. I think it's a great idea. I love it.
Well, and Helga also pointed out something that I still get reminded that this is not a Florida issue.
Right.
That when I get a text from my brother who lives out of state, I'm like, oh yeah, So when we have these grants come out or loans available, this is not just competing in a local area. This is national, and it really brings a different level of urgency to the problem.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I think Paycheck Protection Program alone had 1.6 million applications.
Right.
1.6 million. So it is overwhelming, and that's, Helga touched on it, that, get your information ready to be in queue, because we do anticipate more programs will come online, but don't get caught behind the 8 ball now, not having thought through and put your information together, because we're competing globally for the dollars, and it's something you've got to be very, very, on top of and ready to go when those things become available.
Yeah.
A little bit different angle. Robin, we have a lot of independent workers in our workforce here in Volusia County. How would you define an independent worker, and are they eligible to receive reemployment assistance?
So those individuals who get a 1099 versus a W-4 at the end of the year kind of thing, they are what we consider the independent workers, the gig workers. And traditionally, they're not eligible for the reemployment assistance. But the CARES Act it's traditionally referred to as disaster unemployment assistance. So after hurricanes, it gets triggered and during this. So the state of Florida's Department of Economic Opportunities, who has the Connect system, and they are working on an application so that our independent workers, our gig workers, and 1099ers will be able to apply, and they would be eligible again for that same $600 a week for, I think it's 26 weeks. We were told last Friday that they were hoping to get that rolled out within the next week or two. So as soon as that's going to be available, all you'll need to do is go to Helga's website, because we're connected to that, and then we'll get that out.
Let's put the name out there, though. It's not listed as helgas.com.
Well, it should. Then I could remember.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I haven't learned the new website yet. So it's coming, yes.
Very- Tom, what should small businesses be doing right now to prepare to restart operations when that time comes?
Yeah, it's still back to that survival mentality, and I think maybe not to be, I was talking abstractly, but just maybe through the bridge loan program, I've met so many new businesses, and one of the coolest things about what I do is I get to channel surf. I get to see so many cool businesses that I had no idea were out there in the community, just really killing it. And just some ideas for you. I know one of the companies we helped was a company that purchased Chinese equipment, specialty equipment, that they then resold, and some of their clients were still buying the product. The difficulty was, of course, their supply dried up because it's a Chinese product. So they immediately shifted to, well, I'm going back to my clients who I sold equipment to get that equipment back, buy it at a discount, refurb it here in Volusia County, and then resell it back to new customers. So pretty brilliant, and as a matter of fact, they're surviving. They're thinking of new ways too. It's not like it's a gravy train, but it's a way to keep the business rolling. Some other food service companies have said, I'm going to my numbers. What are my products that are absolutely loss leaders for me that I can no longer really be trying to sell right now, and instead only go to my profitable products that are the yummy products that my clients are going to buy in bulk as a takeout product. So that thought process of really rethinking my business, how can I do it differently? And then the other mentality, the thing I love about Volusia is we have a I know a person mentality here, and that works really well. So I know somebody that's sort of in that business, or somebody that might be able to help me. Use that communication tool, keep it going all the time. And again, to Nancy's point, I think we're all probably with our pet on our lap at night, answering emails and talking to people. We have more capacity now, so keep the communication lines open. I always say it's probably therapeutic to go, oh man, this is really rough right now. It's good, that's valuable. Okay, now erase that. What can I do differently? And so that's my advice, and reach out to the SBDC. We have lots of tools, lots of people. I'm one person here in Volusia, but I'm a team of 40 across Central Florida. So if I don't know the answer, and I probably don't, I know someone who does. So that's really my point. Keep communicating, keep reaching out, and change what you're doing.
Very good. Well, this event has taken on a life, and it has a phase up, phase down, and I do think that we're coming to a point where we really, and it's good news, is we need to be looking at relaunching, restarting as we come out of this. And while I do think that there'll be more dark days ahead in terms of the virus itself, but we need to be doing, some of that planning now. I know we are, and I know others are. So maybe we could talk a bit about that to kind of wrap up the discussion. So I'm just wondering, are any of you involved in working on relaunch or reopening type plans here for Volusia County?
Yeah, I mean, George, certainly from the Chamber's perspective, we've reached out to businesses to find out what their immediate needs are. And we're continually having conversations about what this looks like after, the social distancing starts to get relaxed, the orders start to get lifted. And I want to say, obviously health is most important, but it's not, one or the other. It's okay to be bullish on getting the economy started again in a very respectful way.
Right.
And I think one of the most difficult conversations we have with business right now is the uncertainty. It's not knowing, when things are going to be lifted a little bit so that they can start to plan on what the next phase of their business is, what the recovery looks like. And I think our business owners will be very respectful to be allowed the opportunity to make some of those decisions on their own. If we can start to relax some of that in a very soft way without threatening the health. We get this. I bet the feed's buzzing right now saying we care more about the economy than we care about health. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying that businesses need to respect it, but they're also being very innovative in how they can go about making it work together. So we're having conversations at the chamber level, at the board level, about what's our role as we move forward. And our businesses, in a survey that we just did, all said something that I thought was really interesting. They want to be a part of the solution. It's not just what's in it for them. They want to be a part of the bigger solution. And to me, that is incredibly rewarding to hear.
It is, and one of the things, just to kind of follow on with what you're saying, your two biggest assets are your customers and your employees. And part of the reopening process is going to be making your customers feel really safe about doing business with you, that you're really being heady about making sure that they're safe. And also your employees, as they come back to work, they're going to be a little bit afraid, of course, right? They have to be. What are you doing to make them feel really super safe? Are you going to allow them to continue to work away from the workplace if necessary? Are you going to take special precautions to be sure that they feel like they're safe? Because this thing will then transfer to their families and their loved ones. So everything that we can do to make sure we'll say, yes, first and foremost, it is the health. And we're taking care of that as we get back to business. So one feeds the other, I think.
Well, and I think leadership of the business owners for their employees is really important as well. We just learned the other day, one of our local businesses who's still operating has put in place a pledge, an employee pledge, where they commit that if they're not feeling well, they will not come in, but if they are, they'll maintain social distance, and they basically put the parameters out there for them in writing about how to function within their building safely and make sure that their fellow employees are safe and that their products are safe, and they just sign it. And it sounds like a very, very simplistic thing, but when you have something documented that you've read and you actually know what the rules are now, it changes your mindset. So things like that are going to be, in the future, we're going to see that. We're going to see face masks for a long time. We're going to see gloves for a long time. We're going to see social distancing like this. I'm not used to coming up to my friends and not giving them a hug. Hello. I've got my dad on working on Zoom now. I mean, life is different, but we can still do a good job. And to Nancy's point, our businesses are being very creative. And it's important that we understand and we work with them. One of the key things I think we're going to see, and in the aftermath of this is I think there's going to be a huge push to reshoring a lot of our businesses that have left the states. Bringing them back from a larger perspective as far as economic development goes is something else we need to be looking at. We need to make sure we're prepared for those kinds of things to happen, and align our existing businesses so that they benefit from the clustering effect or the supply chain effect with that. So there's lots of work to do over the next year, and I'm just happy I've got good people to work with.
So that's where we come into play then, right?
Yeah.
One, there are still a lot of businesses hiring, and we've been getting that information out and still doing on-the-job training contracts and working with their businesses who are hiring, maybe taking advantage of the situation, not necessarily the temporary furloughs, but those who did face permanent layoffs. How do we get them reengaged again? The other thing is then that's our specialty, is going back to what skill set's going to be needed and making sure that we have a workforce that has that training. So if this is a time now for someone to pivot in their career, that they can't do what they used to do, or that's not available anymore because our jobs are changing daily here, that we have the system in place to get them back into school and get them upskilled so that they can compete in the next job market.
Robin, that's such a good point, too, and we talk about that, not only working on your business right now, but working on yourself,
Right.
in
Yep.
learning technology. And we've all touched on that. That's probably the new way of doing business. So virtual learning opportunities. I think most of our universities are now offering online virtual courses for the general public. Work on your skill set right now, and hopefully you bring that back to your current employer. But if you can't do that, and if times have changed, you've just built a skill set that will help you with another employer.
Right. And resiliency is probably like one of the top skill sets right now that we all need to have, especially as leaders, and getting that to our employees.
Yep.
All right, so very good. Do we have any Facebook questions out there?
We do. Nathaniel C. would like to know any help for persons who run their own business, just one working person.
So it'd be one person business. I think that's a little bit what Robin had talked about.
The reemployment assistance system, but that would be it's referred to as the pandemic unemployment assistance. That would be at floridajobs.org. Do you have that on your website?
Of course.
And the name of that website is?
www.volusiabusinessresources.com.
Robin, I would just add, too, we just uploaded this morning a new document. And again, I hesitate because there's not any money right now in the EIDL loans, but there is a new document that we uploaded on sole proprietorship today that came out of the U.S. Chamber last night.
Oh, good.
So if you go to our page at DaytonaChamber.com, hit the pandemic red box at the top, it'll take you right to that particular document that was intended for those sole proprietors.
I have a question for you. The grant that's going to be available on Monday, does that start at like 12:01 a.m.?
It's, I think it's 12 noon Pacific time, so that's why I didn't give you the time, because I was trying to make sure. But the neat thing about that is you can actually go in today, put your email in, and you will get a reminder right before it opens. So you
Okay.
can have everything ready to go and push send. So that is actually pretty cool.
Nice.
Very good. Any other, we do. We have another Facebook question.
Linda S. said, need some provision for more PPP for small businesses with under 50 people. All the money went to the big companies.
Well, that's definitely an issue out there, and I think it's key to any of these reopening plans is it will be the availability of PPE. So that's something I think we can look at. We will look at in each of these groups. Do we know of anything right now that's available?
So, George, that's one of the things that's going on today. Between 9 and 4 o'clock today, there's a huge social media campaign across the country for small business to entertain. So it's, again, we've already posted on Facebook. I tweeted this morning. The more people that we can get to send this message across the board, and it's all teed up, so there's graphics, there's everything. It's simply a push of the button. That really is to push our congressional delegation to put more money in specific for small business. So again, if you go to look at that savesmallbusiness.com. There's all sorts of tools that you can push and send it out. And I'll tell you, there's power in numbers. Whether it's all about bringing it local, but we need to work on this across the board and be a part of the loud voice today. We're also on the phone at 10 o'clock with Senator Scott. Every day we're sending out information. We need that money for small business. So stronger voices. Let's get the small business sector just nailing out social media, tweets, and information.
Definitely.
Yeah, and as it relates to the PPP, this is more Tom Daly than SBDC, but because the banks had to administrate it, it was a must-do because of the throughput. It was just too big. I am a big fan of squeaky wheel, so should that get refunded, I would get on top of my relationships with my banks and be the squeaky wheel, because yes, they're obviously they're in business as well, so they're going to take care of their largest clients. That's just good business, right? So I'm going to be the loud one, very politely loud, hey, I need help, and I've been doing business here a long time. Regardless of my size, I'm just as important to this community. So please, if that opens up again, and I'm hopeful it will, I think Congress will do the right thing, just be the squeaky wheel with your banks.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today. I know we're all very busy, and what all of you do for our business community and our community in general, I really appreciate. And just thank you. I think a lot of great information has been shared today. So with that, I think we're going to sign off and have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Stay connected with the latest Volusia County news, events, and updates on our social media channels. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Catch up with previous stories on YouTube, or just head over to our website, volusia.org.